Today on Educate the Culture, this is a very special episode. This is a dear friend of mine and also a business partner. So I'm kind of honored right now. This is a guy that has a lot of integrity, a lot of morals, one of the hardest grinding people on the planet. This is Mr. Jamol Greene.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Like I said, man, I'm honored to do this. And I want the people to get to know who you are because you do so much. And let me just say this about me. To sit here with me, you got to be this type of guy right here, man. So
respect.
Having you as a partner is a blessing, but I know who you are. I want you to take us back a little bit so we could work up to today's time because we are in your office and I want people to understand how that journey worked for us to get here. So if you don't mind taking us back, you can go back as far as you want, or you can start at wherever on the timeline of Mr. Greene that you want to start.
Okay. So born and raised Charlestonian. I mean, originally from the James Island area, but in high school moved up to the North area. Graduated high school, went into the workforce, and had a place that was called Beer that is transitioned to Mali. And in the midst of doing that, I also had some extracurricular that taught me some business principles, but also taught me how to kind of pivot from the scrapes and bruises of making the wrong choices and letting me know that where you are today isn't where your tomorrow was. So some character building things. But that job, I worked there for 22 years up until they closed back in January.
Can I pause you for 1 second? How long you said you worked there?
22 years.
And how
First
old
job,
are you?
41.
So how old were you when you started?
I started there as a temp the month after I turned 18.
I just want to pause that because that's big, because there's a lot of people that's young and that shows your dedication and grind and hard work, man. That's beautiful. So carry on. I just want to highlight that right there because, you know, people put 20 years in somewhere and retire, but they be 65, 70 years old. So for you to do that at such a young age, that's commendable.
Yeah, I'm big on if it ain't broke, ain't no need to fix it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't chase a lot of thrills. You know, I learned to master the mundane, and that's kind of what got me where I'm at. I mean, simple routines, simple disciplines, you know. And on that job, we worked 7 days a week, so it was like clockwork. And most people, when you hear 7 days a week, they're thinking, he worked 7 days and then he'll get 2 days off. No, I started that job, and I believe I worked from September all the way till Thanksgiving. Got a couple days off for Thanksgiving, worked all the way up till Christmas. And after the Christmas couple days off, we went back into it full throttle. And that's kind of how my work structure was, you know.
Well, one thing for sure, I can co-sign that. I watched you do it for years and years and years and years. So for anybody who would think that that's almost unbelievable, I was there. So I saw you do it.
And that kind of plays into what allowed me to work a full-time job, be a dedicated husband, dedicated father, and build a business. So, I mean, that hard work, dedication, as the old folks would say, hard work ain't never killed nobody. And I can attest to that. Most people want the easy ride, but nothing that lasts is easy, you know?
Correct. And one thing, like, once again, me working side by side with you as a partner, I learned from you is that hard work, like, you're the type of person someone will be insulting you by telling you that they're busy. You know, like, once again, we went into business and ran something that I'm gonna let you speak about that requires a lot of time. So I want to know your mindset. How did you train your mind to work a job like that, first of all, how many hours out of the day, because you was working 7 days a week, but how many hours were you working, and how was your mindset to be able to juggle your 9 to 5 and running this business, which I want you to explain what business that was.
So on average, 10-hour shifts. Not mandatory per se, but I was chasing the coin. So overtime made the check just a little bit better. So mainly like 10-hour days, but always had a negative connotation. People like to say a hustler. That's always been my mentality. Always was about finding the next type of hustle, next type of grind. So I was looking for an endeavor to start because I had saved up some money. And that's kind of where our friendship began because, hindsight being 2020, things be God sent. So I was looking for something and I kept running into people that say they were either working for a moving company or they had a moving company. And we met through your cousin. And he was like, my cousin got a moving company. He introduced me. And I remember we met up at the when Tanga Outlet had a food court. We sat
There's no food court there no more?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I know like the little area where the Subway and stuff was at that time.
Right.
That ain't there no more.
Oh, okay.
But we sat down, you gave me the blueprint, told me what I needed to do, man, and I don't like to play games. I don't like to waste time. So you told me what I needed, and I don't know how much time went past before we met again, but I was like, I'm back. I'm ready.
Well, I want to expound on that in particular because that is when we really, really formally met, right? And me personally, I'm an action guy. I don't really take people serious when we talk. Everybody's serious when you talk, but the action is what impresses me. So, like you said, you came to me. I took it with a grain of salt that, hey, okay, another person I'm talking to about business. Now, I say it was maybe a month and a half because I gave you a big task, and that normally run people off. You're going to need this big bag of money, and you need these credentials.
Right.
And I say about a month and a half, you came back and you called me and said, I'm ready. So I'm like, you ready for another talk? No, I got this big bag of money because obviously you've been working real hard and grinding, saving. So you came with that big bag of money and we went. Now you held me accountable, and now we're going to go set this business up and get it jumping. And I'm going to let you take back over, but I want to say this too. You impressed me by how you came with your business. And then once we created it, how you took off with the business was like, this is very impressive, right? So I want you to explain a little bit about like where that process started at.
So you gave me a lot of the blueprint. So a lot of the tasks that a business has are usually mundane tasks that they're doing on a regular basis. So I found as many templates or things that I can do quickly as possible. So in the beginning, I was managing the business on the clock at work. I would answer calls for a customer. I would walk off into the low back area, get him a quote, or the movers did everything necessary as far as the hard work and labor. I just needed to be able to close out and make sure they were satisfied customers. So I created a system. And with most things in life, man, if you create the right system, you can be successful. So strategized, daily disciplines, and stayed focused, man. And another part of why I think success came was I always try to keep as much peace around me as possible. So giving a shout out to my wife, LaQuinta, she always made sure I had peace. So I had, I could focus and do what's necessary. You know what I mean? She was always a support system. So I worked, and it would be a lot sometimes because you got to think I was working 10 hours, 7 days a week. But starting this business out, there was a lot of times where something went wrong and I got to get up in the middle of the night sometimes. Sometimes I got to leave work. But if you building something and you thinking from my standpoint, legacy, you got to put in the time and energy to make it successful.
I agree. And you said something that was really big too. A lot of the times, when in business, I see a lot of business owners don't give credit to their other half, right? And that was really big that you did that, because even though we see you, me understanding and having good sense, you could not be that same doing as much as you do if you didn't have that type of support at home. Exactly. So I really appreciate you giving her shout out and giving her roses, because I feel like that's the foundation right there. And if you have that foundation and that's solid, you can perform at your highest level. And that's a reflection of why you made it so far in business, in my opinion. You know, I think I might be right with that.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Okay.
100%.
And another thing, that while we're moving and grooving, moving companies together, right, we came across situations where, of course, there's a lot of insurance that have to go into this, right? Because moving and transportation in general requires a lot of insurance. And it's kind of ironic that you segued and still maintain moving business. And while we were going back and forth with insurance companies, you found an insurance company that we could work with for years. But in those years, it seems like you maintained a relationship with the insurance partner.
Yeah.
Until today.
Exactly.
So how did that work?
And once again, going back to being God sent, I met an individual from someone on the job. He recommended me his brother-in-law, because I was having a hard time, because moving insurance is one of the hardest industries in insurance to find, because it has so many liabilities.
Right.
So I was having a very hard time finding insurance that would give me the coverage I needed. Because there are a lot of companies that sell you a policy, but it ain't what you need. You know, like you buying auto insurance, but it don't allow you to drive on the South Carolina streets. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. So there's a lot of things that if you don't read the fine print, you're paying into something that ain't gonna benefit you when you need it.
Right.
So met Mr. Ruben Gaston, and what really made me gravitate towards him, because by the second year of him doing my insurance, we ran into where we had some incidents, and they wanted to drop me, and he was searching for another company, and he came to me and he said, man, I don't feel comfortable selling you the policies that they're offering me. So I got someone that I can introduce you to, and maybe she can find you something better. And I respected that 100%, because he put his dollar behind mine. So he was more focused on making sure I had what I needed than his commission. So he moved me over with someone else, and that particular part of my insurance was with someone else. But we continued to build, and every opportunity and every type of insurance I needed in the future, he would always be the first person I called, because I knew I could trust him and he would move with integrity. And if it wasn't something that made sense, he'd let me know up front. And so fast forward 8 years later, about 6 years later, he approaches me and he said, man, I'm getting older, and I always agreed with how you handle business. I'm looking for somebody to partner with. But at the time, I was still working that 7-day-a-week job.
Right.
Had my second child, and I had started a second business in trucking. And I'm like, Mr. Gaston, I don't got time. I can't do it. But a couple years later, I get the news that the job that I've been working this 20 years is now closing down. So I call him up and I'm like, Mr. Gaston, you still looking to get a partner? He's like, man, I'm only getting older. So we collab, and here we are today. We formed G G Insurance for Gaston and Greene, and I'm learning from what I call an insurance guru. He's got 30 plus years of insurance experience, and it's working with him these past few months is kind of just built on what I already had believed, which is this is a very integral, very esteemed person, because now when he's introducing to me to these underwriters and these companies, everybody has the utmost of respect for him.
Right.
And things that would have taken months to get done because of who he is, they're pushing it straight through. Right. So coming in, I'm walking in with like the platinum package, right, being brand new in the industry, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been good, man. And all of it is kind of just from hindsight being 2020, all of it kind of navigated into what it is now, you know?
Right. Yeah. Mr. Gasson is a very intelligent guy, and he's very knowledge-based, been in the business for decades and decades. And what better mentor to have to be your business partner at that? You know, it's almost like you can't fail, you know? And another thing I will want you to do is, because this is educate the culture. And one of my biggest things is having people from the culture more. We need to get into insurance a little more. A lot of us need to have insurance on us, on our children, just to pass down things, to have a peace of mind. If there's anything that you can speak to the people about, as far as, you know, the ones that don't have coverage, that need to, what would be like, I want to keep it almost simple, you know, because most people that don't have it, it's probably only two things. They don't understand it or can't afford it. And most people don't even understand that they can afford it, right? That's the first thing. And I want you to educate on different policies and what you would recommend, you know, for starters, at least.
I'm gonna first start off with talking about G&G. We're gonna focus a lot on life insurance, but we offer all aspects of insurance. So auto, homeowners, property and casualty, so business liability, stuff like that. But for the most part, trying to educate on life insurance. In my opinion, a lot of it is because people know they're gonna die, but they want to avoid the topic. And even though they don't know what day, what hour, they know it's gonna happen. But for some reason, it's such a touchy subject. No one wants to have that conversation. So that person that has that elderly mother that's kind of dealing with some illnesses, you say something about life insurance and they're offended. Like, you trying to kill my mama? Like, no, man, I'm trying to protect your family, your legacy, and get it done before it's too late. There's so many people that have the nice cars and a nice home and have no insurance. It don't make no sense to me. So I saw the value in my early 20s. I got me a term policy. And what, like you say, most people don't know that they can afford. When I sat down with that agent.
How long ago was this when you sat down?
Man, I was like maybe 26, 27.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me, they broke down as far as what it would cost to replace me. So saying that if you're the breadwinner and you make this kind of money, of course, you know, if something happens to you, they're not going to be to pick right back up. And things pile up. Kids still going to need to have things done. Mortgage still need to be paid. Car note, insurance. But you're not there no more. So who's going to bridge that gap?
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with the figure of, I think you need a $500,000 policy. And I'm like, man, I know I can't afford that.
Right.
But it was a term policy and I was still young. So for that $500,000 policy, my premium was $59 a month.
Man.
That's me skipping upsize combo twice a week back that time, you know?
Right.
But yeah, man, so it's affordable. And I always tell people, especially the younger age people, you want to get a higher coverage while you're younger, because that's when your bills are still at their peak. In your latter ages, you should be kind of getting away from your mortgage. Cars should be more paid off. Kids out of the house. So you shouldn't need as much coverage per se.
Right.
But I always recommend going with a term policy to make sure you have the adequate amount of protection. And then as you get more foundated, then you would want to look into a whole life, something that has like paid up additions that would build into a cash value. And now you can spend into doing what a lot of these other cultures, like the Jewish cultures, do, where they're using life insurance to build their legacy. Because they start out with this nice size policy and they're paying all this premium. And then 10 years down the line, when they want to open that store on our corner,
right,
they borrow from their policy.
Mm-hmm.
And now they don't have to worry about the capital gains because they did it as a loan. But now they had the cash they need to do what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in my opinion, I think it's a win-win, because you have the win of, if something was to happen to you, you have a policy to cover these bills and make sure your family, while they're dealing with their grief, they still have finances to keep the lights on and keep a roof over their head. But also you building into this cash value. So down the line, if whether it be you need money because you're in the crunch, or you need money because you saw a piece of property or something, you using your legacy before you pass, you know? So then we got a policy, man, that I was enlightened on, where you can have what they call a child rider. So this was big for Mr. Gaston because he's in the part of the Sickle Cell Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And this policy allows those parents to get them a whole life policy and add their children onto it. And they don't have to worry about the health screening. There's no health exam attached to that child that would have been denied. Now they're automatically on that policy. And then when they make it to the age of 25, they can convert that policy to 5 times whatever the amount was. So I'm going to add this and put it and get a rider for my son for $20,000. So when he turns 25, he can convert that to a $100,000 policy and pay a premium that is for when he was a child.
Let me say this, man. This is why educate the culture is so necessary, right? Because you are high level educate the culture, right? You are giving. Let me just rewind back a little bit, right? You at the age of, what was it again? 41?
That's how I am now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So at the age of 41.
Well, Monday I'll be 41.
Okay, happy early
God's
birthday. All right. So you've given 4 to 5 different careers that you either took that path or generated, right? And what I'm saying is, you, like, a lot of people think that, you know, the only way to success is entrepreneurship, right? And I feel like having a 9-to-5, if utilized the right way, is the gateway, right? Because you have a residual paycheck that you can depend on if you're working it the right way. So I'm saying that because you started with that, and you're showing over the course of time how you accumulated so many streams of income off of the 9-to-5 income.
Okay.
You know, so that's
and I'm gonna drop another jewel. And this is an insurance. So a 9-to-5.
Mm-hmm.
Maximize your 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what another thing that and I'm big on educating myself. So I took a course, and I don't mind paying for education. So I took a real estate course.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed me that you can get a multi-unit, multi-family, and you could do what they call an owner occupancy. And now you can get a regular first-time home owner, so you don't have to pay that high investment down payment. So I was able to get me a multi-unit and pay a 3% down payment, as opposed to if it was an investment property, and pay 20%. And what I did was, I've been paying in my 401k for so long, I withdrew the money from my 401k. That's one of the things that you're eligible to use your 401k for and not be penalized. So you could take that 9-to-5 work, build up your money, and buy you some property.
Now, I was going to segue into that because, all right, let's back up. You're the 9-to-5 guru. You started a moving company. We already went over that. We went over your new career with owning co-owner of this insurance company. You own real estate. you own semi-trucks, right? We didn't even get to semi-trucks. But now we're taking a segue into your real estate part of your portfolio, right? So you're just, to me, giving so much inspiration that everything is, not anything is possible. Everything is possible, right? Because once again, you're just one man. It's not like it's a big team, because what you're doing sounds like a big team. Now, you do have help and do have support.
My family is a great support.
Correct.
And I think that's a big part of why
that covers half of a team.
Yeah.
That covers half of a team.
You stressed out and you ain't got nobody, man, you can't make good choices. You just can't. And just, you know, like, and you don't have to have the silver spoon per se. You don't have to never have fell off the bike or anything like that. Because in my teens and early 20s, I definitely fell off the bike.
Right.
You know, I had my run-in with the law. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you live, you learn, and you understand there's better ways on the other side of the track. And I overcame that. And, you know, I advise not to go that route and have to kind of pick yourself up and dust yourself off. But either way, you can, you know? So,
right.
Brushed myself off. And at the same time, even when I was dealing with the stuff, I still always worked the job. So I was never afraid to work. And I was always humble, always willing to listen. You know, a lot of time people want to learn, but they don't want to listen. How you coming to me for advice, but you over talking me?
Right.
Or you trying to tell me a better way to do something that I've done that you haven't.
Funny you said that, because me and your relationship was based on that, right? You came to me, I gave you some information, you listened, and you actually took it further than what I took it. You know? And then look how it manifested itself. I helped you, right? But on the back end, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't still be in the business right now. So it balanced itself out. I know you give me a lot of credit for you know, giving you the game and helping you, but I got to give you your flowers back, because you helped me stay in the game. You helped hold my hand through times in the business where I'm just ready to give it up. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was like, I got paid back 10 times more than what I put in. That's how I feel.
And going into knowing that it gets tough, you know, you know, like everybody see the glitz and glam of owning a business, but they don't see when you're really in the mud with it. Mm-hmm. We've had those conversations where we talking each other off the ledge. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not literally, but right. You know, just when you feel like just throwing in the towel. And I've had that with every aspect of the business except for G&G. And, you know, I'm pretty sure there'll be moments with that. But the moving, Lord knows.
To still be here saying we're answering phone calls to move people is amazing. And this is resilience at its finest.
Oh yeah. So many stories, you know.
Yeah, that's a whole segment within itself. We may have to sit down one day and just give the ugly sides to business. There is a ugly truth. That's what we're gonna call this segment, the ugly truth to business.
And I've told people that, you know, working a job was all good because you clock out and you go home.
Right.
You don't get to turn the phone off or close the door when you're the business owner. Mm-hmm. When it got to be done, last result, you got to get it done.
That is correct.
And that's everything. Like even with the properties, when things breaking down, when that AC unit go out,
yeah,
it's all good when you collecting that rent. But when it's time to fix these high cost things, it show a different side of it.
And let me ask you this, because I'm on the outside looking in when it comes to that. And to be a young black man in Charleston, South Carolina, I feel like you own a piece of some prestige property in a prestige side of Charleston. How did you manage to acquire that type of property?
Hindsight 2020, man. Everything be God sent, man. I was looking, and I had a friend of mine, and I didn't even know he was a real estate agent. And just us politicking, running our mouth. He was like, man, I got a nice property you should look at. And he said, James Island, when he sent it to me. And what was crazy is I had a family member that used to live in those apartments.
Wow.
So I'm like, man, I love it. I'm on it. Set it up, and I remember meeting the owner, and he wanted more than I felt as though I could afford. But so what I did is I called him up, and I asked him to meet me on the property, and he was like, okay. And he walked the property, and I'm like, that wasn't so much to see the property as it was to have a conversation face to face. So I told him, man, listen, this is my first property, and I'm not trying to undermine you or lowball you, but this is what I could afford. And I didn't want to insult you and make you feel like I was haggling you over the phone, but I want this property, but this is what I have. And that man knocked off $75,000.
Man, that is such a unique approach. I've, been in real estate for some time at this point. I've never seen an approach like that. Not to mention your first property, you own 4 doors. Let's get that clear too. I want people to understand we are talking about 4 doors, and for you to take that approach, but that just goes into who you are as a businessman. You've been very savvy, and that's why I kind of wanted you to speak on that, because like I said, of course I was there the whole time, but I never really knew the ins and outs to how you got there. And me hearing this for the first time, I'm like, wow, he did it again. Impress me again.
And I always say, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So anything I do, I'm gonna go all in. Any approach I take, I'm coming respectful. You know what I mean? Anything I do, or whenever I present myself, you're gonna get my full attention. So I don't like to half-ass anything.
Right.
So it don't matter if it's taking a light jog outside, or us trying to build a home for the homeless. How I do anything is how I do everything. So that's why my approach with that guy was humble and putting all my cards out on the table. Because a lot of times, most people don't get anywhere because their pride. And as I've mentioned God so many times, there's Bible scripture saying pride coming before a fall, and that's because most people fall because of their pride. Like most businesses fail, most marriages fail, most of, we talked about the street a little bit. Most of the people that get hurt in the street is pride.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
more often, more than money.
Yeah, that's a fact. Humiliation. Yeah.
So I learned to come humble and tuck my pride, man, and that's helped me to get a lot further in most things,
Another thing I want to touch on, because like I said, you do so much, you have done so much, you're doing so much. We spoke over the years about, you getting into trucking, because of course it's like the first cousin to moving, it's still transportation, and you acquired semi trucks. And I want you to, speak about that venture as well.
Yeah. The upside of it is S&J Elite Transport, and the pride moment with that was I named it after my 2 children. And I remember my son was what? I'm trying to think about what age he was when I asked him if he understand what the S&J stand for. And he was like, for me and my sister. So it was an opportunity to diversify and still build that legacy. You know what I mean? And same approach. I had a very good friend of mine that was in trucking, and I told him I had some money to invest. And he was like, man, you buy the truck, you set up the business, I got it from there. And he did exactly that. He hired the driver, he set the routes, and for the first maybe 6 months, I just collect the check. But
I love the way that sound. Hey.
But the rates changed and things got very different.
Right.
But, you know, it's 3 years now, still rolling, where a lot of trucking companies fail.
Yeah.
That's a very tough business. You know, maintenance. I mean, you could be one breakdown from bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a way to diversify, you know. I appreciate the another rung on the ladder, but
well, I look at it like this, man. You've been so diversified with what you do, right? So it's all in the grand scheme of things because you're in different sectors of how you operate in life, you know, 9-to-5 sector, transportation sector, real estate sector, insurance sector. That's if we talking about being diversified, that's as diversified as it get, you know. So you still, at the end of the day, everything that you touch, at least I can say, no matter how hard it is, you exceed the average, past the average of when most of these businesses fold. So you have to pat yourself on the back. That's why I like giving men their flowers. Absolutely. Man. You know, like you got to pat yourself on the back. Sometimes you got to reward yourself for your victories, and I guess that's what I'm here for. I want to reward you for your victories because I watch you do all this stuff, you know. And I want you to circle back around to insurance because you didn't give the information of how to reach you guys. Do y'all accept walk-ins? Where you're located? Just, you know, I want everyone to know because you are the guy that, you know, you're working on some packages for me right now. And before you started this business, I already have insurance. I'm getting extra insurance with you, you know? So I want people to understand how important this is. And he's somebody who I trust. I don't really ask him no questions at this point. If he recommend this, all right, that's what we doing. So if you want to let the people know how to get in contact with you, where you're located, and any other information you want to put out with that.
Sure. So G G Insurance, we have an office in the West Ashley area, off of Sam Rittenberg. So we're 1525 Sam Rittenberg, Suite 107. Our telephone is 843-981-1335. And our email is info@gginsuranceagency.com. Still working on collabing once again for the website with
Automated Solutions. We are a SaaS business, so we are working with G G Insurance right now to build the digital and AI side of the business. See, we're still business partners, man. We can't get rid of each other, and we won't. But yeah, so
most millionaires have 8 screens of income. So
I like that. So and we're at the G office right now. So just to let y'all know, we're here, they're here, get insured. You know, this is Educate the Culture. I feel like we really nailed it today. I feel like this guy should be an inspiration to anyone because he's probably walked more than 10 people in 20 years. So I think this is a guy y'all need to follow. I think this is a guy y'all need to invest with your families with insurance, and just a guy to get to know. So I had the pleasure and honor to having him as a friend and a business partner. So Educate the Culture. This is Jamol Greene. And until next time, we're out.
Much appreciated, man.